Grab your guitar, play these 5 notes on the G string. Now play these 5 notes on the D string. Next, move that group of 5 down by 2 frets. Now, listen to me play these 3 groups of notes over a blues shuffle in A. What I just showed you is something called a chromatic enclosure, a fantastic tool to add to your blues improvisation toolbox that will help to break you out of the minor pentatonic exclusive rut that so many players find themselves lost in. The reason it sounds so good over the backing track is because within each group of 5 notes, there is one in particular that I'm targeting. It's a note or chord tone known as a major third. For group 1 on the G string, it's this note. For the 2 groups of notes on the D string, it's this note and this note. What is a chord tone? Well, the 3 chords in a basic 12-bar blues progression are all dominant 7th chords, and dominant 7th chords contain 4 notes, which are often referred to as chord tones. So in the same way that we use the term scale degree to refer to the individual notes, or rather the intervals of a particular scale, we use the term chord tone to describe the notes of a chord. Not the note names like A, C sharp, E, G, but the intervals like root, major third, perfect fifth, flat 7th. Now what I just said, root, major third, perfect fifth, flat 7th, those are the 4 chord tones in a dominant 7th chord. And what's cool about the 12-bar blues progression is that, as I said earlier, all 3 of the chords are dominant 7th chords. So in the key of A, that's A dominant 7 for what we call the 1 chord, D dominant 7 for what's known as the 4 chord, and E dominant 7 for what we call the 5 chord. Now, if you look at the chord diagrams on screen, I'll play them again and highlight the chord tone mentioned earlier, that being the major third in each one, okay? Here's the 5 chord, E7. Here's the 4 chord, D7. And here's the 1 chord, A7. So these are the major thirds for the 5, 4, and 1 chords. Simply playing them in isolation over a backing track is not going to sound all that exciting. So what can we do to make music when targeting these notes? Well, we can put them in a chromatic enclosure, which I would describe as a string of 3 to 5 notes that are separated by semitones. For example, a chromatic enclosure for the 1 chord on the G string might look like what I taught you in the opening seconds of this video. And you can take that same chromatic enclosure and transpose it to another area of the fretboard to fit around the major thirds of the 4 and 5 chords too. So before we wrap up, I'll give you 2 exercises you can practice to get started with using these in your playing. And at the end, I'll show you a cool lick that uses a chromatic enclosure in a more musical context. Exercise 1, I showed you early on in the video, but here it is again. Exercise number 2 is a development of that same idea. And here's a lick that I wrote to mark the transition from the 1 to the 4 chord over a funky blues backing track in the key of E flat. It uses a chromatic enclosure on the high E string, targeting the major third of the 1 chord, and it has you landing on the root note of the 4 chord when it appears in the progression. Now, let's hear that slowed down. If you watching this are interested in learning more about how to break out of the minor pentatonic blues rut that you've been stuck in for years or even decades, I have 2 options for you. One is for people who already watch this channel and know that I'm not a bull. And that is to go to the Amazon link in the description box and pick up my new blues improvisation book, Beyond Pentatonic Blues Guitar. It's a non-cookie cutter approach to a blues guitar resource that isn't simply a collection of scale and arpeggio diagrams and a stock chapter on the BB King box. It's a comprehensive guide to highlighting the 1, 4, and 5 chord changes in a standard 12-bar blues progression, using tools that include pentatonic scales but also go beyond them to incorporate melodic structures that allow you to target the chord tones with ease and play solos that have you landing on the right notes at the right time. The other option is for those of you who are watching me for the very first time. Hi, by the way, my name's Ross. We don't know each other all that well yet, so I'm not going to ask you to spend your money on my product, but I would encourage you to check out the other link in the description box, which is a free 1-hour-long blues improvisation masterclass that I just put together and that I'm really excited to share with you. It takes you through a full 12-bar solo that shows you how to highlight the chord changes by moving beyond a purely pentatonic-based approach. And this, of course, includes many of the topics found in the chapters of the book. So you can get a real feel for whether or not the book is actually something that you yourself could get value from. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.